Okay, so Jennifer Aniston had some very interesting things to say about dating in Hollywood recently. In an interview with People magazine, Aniston said relationships between public and non-public figures can work. She also stated that she hopes her next relationship is with someone not necessarily in the industry. So, Shireen, do you think it's better to date someone in the same industry or outside of the world that you're in? What works better?
So I started dating in my 40s. I actually started online dating in a pandemic, which was, well, that's another topic for another day. But I think ideally, having someone who's not in media, not in journalism, appeals to me because there's certain stresses and certain things that you go through. In particular, with my work, I like to be able to walk away from it. And as we work from home, and as you know, with the type of journalism that I practice, it's hard to step away from that. So having someone who's not in that space, I feel is really, really helpful. And also, I'm really looking for an accountant. Let's be honest, someone who's like really, just someone who does something that's like, I don't even do spreadsheets, so like something totally different than what I'm doing is what I would love.
I love that you're using our show to put the call out there. So I don't know, reach out to Shireen on social media.
Smart woman.
No, it's funny you say that because I do agree with my husband and I are not in the same industry at all. He is in construction. He's a contractor. I've never dated anybody in my industry, not even once. So that's it. And it's worked out clearly. We've been married for 13 years and he gives great advice. And perhaps maybe one of the reasons why is he always is grounded in a very different reality. TV can be a place where it's kind of sometimes a fantasy land and you can maybe lose yourself, or there's, your problems seem to be really different problems and maybe like, I don't want to say less important problems, but if I'm complaining or whining about something at work or I had a really hard day or a bad day, Ryan's line is always this: there are a million people who would want to be in your position right now and having your very problems. Get over it. And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, you're right. Like perspective, grounding me and making me realize like my problems, everyone's got problems, but my problems are not as big and bad sometimes as I think. So I don't know if that's just me. Neera, are you with someone in the industry dating anything?
No, I've been with my husband for 20 plus years, and I can understand Jennifer Aniston's allure of, now wanting being outside of the industry, but there is an appeal to have someone in the industry. I've seen both sides of it, also working in media 20 plus years. Just being able to tell those stories, like you said, Mel, of things that you think are so important, but I have to give so much background information to my husband, Gary, sometimes, and he finds it so boring. And then it's sometimes just easy to talk to someone who's in the industry because they get it. But the reality, my reality, like you said, so different than my husband's because he's in healthcare. The things that I think are issues, like, let's be blunt, I can be very dramatic. To do what I do, they say morning radio show people, you are usually people who have a lot of issues. And I know my co-host Johnny and Holly would completely agree. So I can't even imagine Gary also being a morning show host as well and having all these types of issues and me having these issues and having two people with these types of issues together. It'd be too many issues. And waking up at 3:45 every morning, I am Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. My family does not get the best version of me. If both of us were like that, oh my gosh, our poor children. No way.
I'm just thinking about this as you are talking, because obviously I don't think there's one formula. People sometimes work in the same industry or not, but I do think maybe there should be a hard and fast rule that actors are not the best to date with each other. Because I think that there's like something to be said for it's a very dramatic industry, like lots of high emotions. You need to be really, really in touch with expression. And I think also there's a competitive part of this and maybe a power dynamic that happens that is unique to that field in particular, or maybe creative fields in general to some degree. But I think about, the classic story of like, remember John Hamm from Mad Men? He, for years, was with a woman, Jennifer Westerfeld, and they were together. They had this amazing relationship. She was actually the bigger star at the time. She'd been in a movie. He was kind of nobody. I think he was still waiting tables. Then he got Mad Men, and they split, Right? Like, I think that there's so many classic stories in Hollywood that are like that. So I think you want, maybe if you're going to be in a creative industry, maybe it's you're adjacent. Like,
Oh yeah.
Melissa McCarthy, you know, she has Belen Falcone now. He's a writer director. She's an actor. My Jason, he's like works as a director of photography, and I'm in whatever it is that you call this job. And we speak the same language, but we're not in competition for jobs. That's all.
It was the Oscar
You know what
curse
you
too,
all
right?
need?
Competition.
Yeah, I was going to say there's the Oscar curse, but also, Cynthia, if your significant other isn't in the industry, then you have work wives, which is what Cynthia and the rest of the gals are. And so if you need to whine and gripe, you got your work wives too. Hey,